In the perspective of the Singapore Convention, in the last couple of years, what are the initiatives that have been taken in India? Given that India is a signatory to the Singapore Convention. First of all, the Supreme Court Committee on Mediation was put in place in order to facilitate the enactment of the Mediation Act and subsequently to enforce mediation in the country. Latest amongst the initiatives is the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding by the Chief Justice of India, Sri Ramana, and the Chief Justice of Singapore, Sri Menon, given that there is a lot of business between these two countries and the investment of India in Singapore is substantial. In this meeting, the Chief Justice had spoken of mission launch when he spoke of mediation, and he expected mediation to take off in a big way. And in this way, mediation was given a huge fillip. Other things that have been done are government institutions are being put in place for mediation. For instance, the Hyderabad Arbitration Center was recently inaugurated by the Chief Justice, and mediation happens to be one of the facilities that is provided in this center. Then we are having Legal Services mobile app, and in the field of education, a number of strides have been taken in the last 1-2 years. For instance, last year, for the first time in India, a postgraduate course of 2 years was introduced in mediation and conflict resolution in the Maharashtra National Law University on September 5th. And for the first time, the Bar Council of India made the study of mediation mandatory. We are also having a lot many more of the 40-hour training programs to certify as mediators, that is assessment programs, both within the purview of courts and commercially. We are having lot many more competitions, and we are having international bodies also entering into these competitions, in that the International Alternate Dispute Resolution Academy, INADR, which is a body that facilitates and encourages education in mediation. This collaborated with the National School of Law for conduct of competitions in Bhopal last year. Then we also had the International Virtual Mediation School, which was also inaugurated, I think, last month by the Chief Justice of India, for creating awareness among students or the people at a very subsidized price of 500 rupees. Then we are having lot many more webinars, campus ambassadors, internships, and so on. Then panel discussions, like we are having discussions on the Tamil Nadu Forum of Mediators, where community mediators are encouraged to invited to speak. We are having agree to disagree programs by the Madhyam, ambassadors of mediation. Then we are also having the Supreme Court Association of Mediators, Nivaran, conducting talks periodically on topics relating to mediation. Then books and periodicals also being put in place. We had the e-mediation writing that was launched in Chhattisgarh last month, and then videos also being made, and a book by mediator Rana Deve was launched by no less than the Chief Minister of Kerala. Now, given that so many strides have been made in the field of education, why is it that we need to do that much more in order to make mediation mainstream? This is because of the various stumbling blocks that have to be overcome. The first is there is almost no awareness of mediation amongst the users, that is, the public. And the process of mediation is mostly court annexed, in that information on mediation can be got only in the courts even today. The functionaries who are judiciary qualified to be mediators, and they are being given training for mediation to train as mediators. Often, many mediators without qualifications in law do not get enough opportunities, and programs to certify for assessment are on the premise that people know about mediation, which is not the case. Awareness is very low. Now, educational institutions have expressed and felt the need for courses in mediation, not awareness assessment courses, basic courses about awareness of mediation. However, they're not able to enroll students in these courses because there is no UGC certification. Now, as to the business entities and the future business leaders who are the business school students, there's not much awareness of the Singapore Convention in them, and so is the case of schools that deal with foreign business. Given this situation, what is it that we need to do? Some of the suggestions are to have an awareness course for all students that can be made mandatory at subsidized price or free. Then also we can have a short course on mediation and Singapore Convention on mediation that can be made mandatory in business schools and schools of business and international business. We can also have very short courses to create awareness of mediation amongst the public. We also need to have crafting of guidelines and qualification for assessment courses. Then at policy level, please give me a couple of minutes more. Yeah. At policy level, what is it that we can do for mediation advocacy? We can have what is expected and hoped is that we have a mediation body to oversee all these suggestions, and in order to spread mediation, we have more centers of mediation and mediation training centers. It is possible to tie up with corporate social responsibility and Lions Club and Rotary clubs. There is a possibility of starting a website on pool of mediators, giving their specialities, what are the areas that they do deal in, their contacts, and so on. Or this website should be accessible in public domain. That is, people who are the users need to have access to this. Not least is the importance of press and media to take mediation forward, and talks by eminent personalities and grassroots volunteers are no less important. This is totally at the policy level, and we've already spoken of other methods of encouraging mediation, court referrals and legislation, cost sanctions, and so on, mandatory mediation, and so on, which can all be included in the Mediation Act. Now, coming to the future of enforcement of mediation. What is the future of mediation in India? Mediation requires a big push through mediation advocacy. Now, there is need for educating all our chief users and the citizens of tomorrow, the students, about mediation. Without this, it will be indeed difficult to take the process of mediation forward. Therefore, the extreme and imperative significance of mediation advocacy. In this context, as to your role as students, I just want to share a small story. This is about a king who's going in a palanquin. Now, unless the palanquin has to be carried by 4 people, then there have to be people to cheer the procession. There have to be guards at the palace entry gates. There has to be a person who's going to blow the bugle. Without all of these, and then sometimes we also have in the procession people throwing flowers onto the king and garlanding the king and cheering the king. Now, what is it that is happening? Without all the people and the participation in the procession, there is no beauty to the procession that is taking the king along. Similarly, although a number of initiatives have been suggested and are expected at policy level, without participation by all of you, the citizens of tomorrow, you students, mediation advocacy is not possible. What we as elders and policy makers are doing is we will be planting the sapling of mediation, how to take it forward, to make it grow and sustain, and to ensure that the tree of mediation gives you shade. This is in your hands, and my earnest request to all of you is to put in your little best at all levels. It cannot be simply taken forward by putting in place rules. At grassroots level, at every level, mediation advocacy is very much important. With this, I conclude the topic of today. Thank you, and the floor is open for questions. And thank you so much for your patience and for sitting by.
Session, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Very, very clear, concise, very, I mean, really a lot of things that, I'm sure which will help students a lot. Thank you so much. Ma'am, we'll take a few questions. I'll hand it over once again to my students.
Yeah.
I would like to request the attendees to post their queries and questions on the chat box, and ma'am will be addressing them one by one.
Can I close the PowerPoint? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So that, we can look at one another and speak. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm ready to be taken headlong. Yeah. Okay. Now tell me, did you listen to what I was speaking, or you just yawned and went to sleep? A little bit is all right. In class. Okay.
It was
Yeah.
quite an engaging and an interesting session, ma'am. I'm sure there are questions. And Vidisha, have you given the rights to unmute or something, or you're taking it in the chat box?
We will take it in chat box.
Okay.
Ashna will be
So I think questions have started coming, and you can just ask, ma'am.
Yes.
So, ma'am, there's this one question by Kiran Yadav. Why aren't skilled management experts considered mediators, despite the fact that they have business experience and solid communication skills, which are essential for mediation?
Can you repeat that question once?
Yes, Why aren't skilled management experts considered mediators, despite the fact that they have business experience and solid communication skills, which are essential for mediation?
Yeah. It's not as if only communication is required for mediation. We need to have the skill sets that we require for mediation, and mediation is a structured process, and a basic awareness is required to in order to put it in place. So in many institutions and businesses, the leaders and business entities do mediation on their own. But in order to make it successful, a basic awareness of how to take it forward is essential. And in case they want to settle their disputes on their own in the business premises, then they need to have certification as assessors through assessment and as mediators. That's the reason why I stated that short courses on mediation and the Singapore Convention on Mediation would help them in the process of mediating. Yeah. And in this connection, there was a suggestion or a recommendation which I had put to the Supreme Court Committee on Mediation about a course in assessment wherein the participants in the assessment program should have a basic degree or training in human relations related subjects, like for instance, psychology, sociology, anthropology, and so on. The reason is the example that I had shared with you about the fight between the two brothers. This requires a little bit of a human element and understanding. So therefore, as mediators, we need to have that. Now, what you stated is that as managers, they're good in their communication skills and otherwise managing people. They have that human element part of it, but they need to have a little bit of initiation and training in mediation, right? Okay, so we are expecting something on this, short courses in mediation to be coming up. Yeah, yeah. Is that okay? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, in this context, I'll share my own experience. Like, for instance, when I went to train in Singapore in 2015, almost all the participants were senior professionals or those who were trained in law, the elite of Singapore and worldwide. Now, even when I went there, I had 18 years of banking experience. And then I had 6 years as a counselor. I was already teaching in the university. Still, I had to go to Singapore to train and understand about mediation in order to certify as a mediator. Similarly, there were many senior people who came for training. There's no requirement that management has to go through such an intense training or that they should have training, that they should become mediators. There's no need that they need to go through the assessment training, but an awareness of the process of mediation, how it is structured, that is required in order to take the dispute resolution forward. In fact, I'm recommending this course very highly in human HR domain in business schools, right? Okay. Yeah. Next.
So there's this question, what role does the Indian government and state governments play in institutionalizing ADR and mediation in India?
Yeah, the government surely plays a role. Like I stated, we are having the Supreme Court Committee on Mediation, and lot of parleys are going on about putting in place the Mediation Act. And once this is put in place, we will have a more clear idea about what the central government is going to do, the state government is going to do, and so on. So we are expecting a lot from the Mediation Act and the initiatives that are going to be taken after this act is put in place by the central government and the state governments, both of them. Yeah. Like, for instance, I'll just give you an example. I had stated that there are a number of, there is possibility and suggestion to open mediation training centers and mediation centers. For instance, in Canada, we have mediation centers which are based on the geographic 3-4 kilometers. Once in 3-4 kilometers, you have a mediation center, right? So something like that can be done even in India. It's possible that the Lok Adalat can be integrated with the mediation center, or these are some of the ideas that I'm just speaking offhand. So many people have ideas and they will all be put in place and taken forward by the respective central government and the state government. I'm just sharing my very small idea about this, right? Okay. Is that okay? Yeah? Okay.
Ma'am, there's this one more question. When it comes to private mediation, what is the regulatory framework that must be followed to ensure the integrity and professionalism of the process?
This is indeed a very difficult question. Very difficult. Yeah. I've spoken about the confidentiality issue in mediation. So even I'm a little confused on issues of confidentiality and how to take it forward in mediation. I'm a little bit confused. so I don't want to commit myself on this. Yeah. Incidentally, I had spoken in the Singapore Convention on Mediation last year. This was jointly sponsored by the International Mediation Institute in Hague and the Singapore International Mediation Institute. Even there was this question about how to ensure integrity of the mediators. I was not able to answer that. I'm really sorry about it. Yeah?
No issues, ma'am. Ma'am, I would like to request the attendees to fill the feedback form that is provided in the chat box. And I would like to request everyone to turn on their cameras to take a screen grab. Thank you.
We are having 87 to 88. I'm really honored and humbled to have so many participants here today. And thanks to all of you, my students, for being here today. It's really a very big honor, and I'm enjoying this moment. Thank you.
We'll wait for a minute, ma'am.
Janvi.
I take
Many
this
of my friends who have joined the, I think the webinar, I can see many of them. Thank you so much to all of you for joining in such a good number. Thanks a lot. Over to you, Janvi.
I take this opportunity on behalf of Pravin Gandhi College of Law and Center for Conflict Resolution to thank our speaker for today. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your exemplary knowledge and insights, covering mediation beautifully in depth, shedding light on Singapore Convention and its history, sharing your knowledge on mediation education and the way forward. It was quite an informative and educative session. Thank you to the wonderful audience for joining us and making this event successful. And last but not the least, thank you to our organizing team, hosts, and faculty in charge, without whom this event wouldn't be carried on smoothly. Thank you everyone for your kind cooperation and active participation. With this, we come towards the end of the day. I request everyone to please fill the feedback form provided in the chat box. Certificates will be provided only to those who fill the feedback form. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.